I was looking.
Wayne, how are you?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
So is the DTE going to be here or on Zoom?
And just stepped out for a second.
Zoom, Jennifer?
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't. Right Okay, we're going to call to order the Rochester City Council meeting of September 27th, 2021. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Here.
Salvia,
Here.
Albrecht,
Here.
Harrison,
Here.
Peterson,
Here.
Sage.
Here. Thank you. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody, for coming on this beautiful fall evening, even though it feels like summer. First, we're on to public comment, scheduled and non-scheduled presentations. Brian, is there anybody from the audience?
I am not seeing any currently.
Okay, thank you. So next, we're going to have a discussion with DTE regarding power outages, our favorite topic. Blaine, would you like to?
Sure, I can introduce it. I don't know if that third or fourth name here looks like Jennifer's jumping on now. So I've talked with council in the past, and in this week's manager's update, I gave a summary to council of the meeting that the county executive actually set up, and then invited the mayors and township supervisors and city managers too. So I attended that. And I think it was a productive meeting, and Dave Coulter also, at the end of the meeting, suggested and DTE'd offered a follow-up meeting. So I'll continue to keep council updated as what's going on in our overall Oakland County area with DTE. Tonight, Jennifer is going to be here to listen and take any comments or, concerns or questions. And there's not a set presentation, so she's, available to listen. And I know we've continued to have power outages in our area as recent as just yesterday. So, there's clearly some issues, and, we're working with DT as we would with any utility to try to get those resolved.
Okay. So first of all, Jennifer, thank you for coming tonight. Are you there, Jennifer?
I saw her when I first started there. I don't know where she...
I'm on. This is Lynn. I work with Jennifer. She's having some problems with the Zoom link, so she's jumping on. But I'm here to take notes in the interim.
Okay.
We'll wait for it.
I think I see her back. Is that her?
Yep, that looks
Is
like
that you,
official.
Jennifer?
Looks like it says connecting if I'm reading it correctly.
Is this muted now, Blaine? And then you need to unmute.
It looks like she's still muted.
Okay, Jennifer, you need to unmute yourself if you can.
There we go.
Hi, sorry, I was having trouble with Zoom.
Okay, so Jennifer, welcome to our meeting. We thank you for coming. We appreciate it. Council, do you have questions or comments while we have them here? Councilmember Albrecht.
Jennifer, thank you for showing up, and appreciate you taking the time and listening to us. We're the elected officials, and we're basically conveying what we've heard from our residents and the voters here in Rochester. We know that this has been a summer of unprecedented weather, things that are out of all of our control. Yet, the note that we have in our package references the heavy storms on August 11th and 12th. but I'd really like to talk about before August 11th and 12th, and quite frankly, after August 11th and 12th, including up to yesterday afternoon, and address some of those issues. Quite frankly, I live on the east side of town, and I'm in a subdivision, and I communicate regularly with the 3 subdivisions on that side of town, and we were relatively spared the August 11th and 12th storms because we have underground wiring, and so we weren't really as impacted as those people on the west side. And our west side was hit very hard with power out for several days, lights out, businesses not being able to open. Our city came up with a spoiled truck that people could bring their food to deposit because people lost hundreds of thousands of dollars of food during those days from their refrigerators and freezers, and again, had no power. So the west side was hit much harder. The west side is also an older part of our city, has more trees and probably more wires that would be susceptible to wind damage and trees coming down to that regard. What I was not happy with, or what I had heard from residents now on the west side, again, I'm on the east side, was that a couple things. One, the $25 credit offered really doesn't even begin to approach the losses that not only our residents felt, but our businesses felt. I know that is being looked at and has to go through some commission to get that addressed, and I understand that's already in the works, but the feedback I got was, really? $25? So that was one of the things I heard. Secondly, you made a great attempt to station a outpost or truck or tent with water for the area, but it was up, I think, at Adams and Gunn Road or Adams and Silver Bell in the Kroger parking lot there, which was really far away from the impacted area. A better place would have been, because both Rochester Hills, our neighboring city, and the much larger city, and Rochester were hit. So to have, I would have expected at some point somebody to contact Blaine or the Mayor Barnett of Rochester Hills to say, hey, where could we help you the most? Where could we station our truck, our tents to pass out water or whatever else? I don't know what supplies you're passing out there. So I applaud the effort. I just question the logistics of where it was, because you don't have as many people living up in that area as there would be in a more centrally located area here. So yesterday, on a sunny day with a few clouds, the power went out again. And over the last week, my power, now I'm talking myself. Prior to this, I was talking about residents on both the east and west side that I've spoken with. I've reset my clock at least 4 or 5 times this week. Again, maybe they're just short bursts. The power goes out. Okay, got to redo the oven, the microwave, my alarm, everything else in the house, and then 2 hours later it happens again. Yesterday we had a power outage that lasted over 2 hours. The only good thing was I didn't get to watch the Lions game, so that was one of the more positive things of it. It did come back in time for the second half where they were at least respectable. But all kidding aside, the comments I got, I'm on some chat groups, and the comments I got were, DTE is synonymous with unreliability. Our power consistency is worse than a third world country. These are other people's comments. One person remarked that he had moved from Texas several years ago, Texas, where they have hurricanes and tornadoes, and notwithstanding what happened last winter, he said, we've never had the power outages in Texas like we have here. Another resident said she had moved from Rochester Hills, where her power was pretty consistent, and since she's moved to Rochester, it has been sporadic, especially over this last year. So I don't know if there's issues with the infrastructure. I've read all your materials from the CEO, and I thank him for being in front of this issue and not, he's handled that well about the investment in tree trimming and being more proactive on that. But there's other infrastructure issues. I don't know what happened yesterday, probably something blew, and so I don't know what, if we are because we are a 200-year-old city, and we're in a area that's a little more aged, if we just have infrastructure issues that need to be addressed proactively instead of reactively. So I'll end with just a couple thoughts. One, again, thank you for coming here. I know you're probably getting a lot of these meetings from a lot of other residents, and will continue to do so. But what the residents need is consistency. And problems happen. We know things happen. It's how you address those problems. And I think DTE could do a look at the situation and say, what could we have done better this past summer? What could we do better now? And how proactively can we make sure that the residents of Rochester are taken care of so that they can feel more that when they flip their switches on, that the power is always going to be there. I know that you guys do a great job of getting our bills to us on time. I hope we could do the same thing with the power. Thank you, Jennifer.
Any comments, Jennifer, on that?
I can get back to you on what happened yesterday. We're still in the middle of our having some crews out there doing some restoration right now, so I want to give them an opportunity to bring back their report. With regard to the water distribution, we do look, that may have been my fault, we do look at areas when we do the water distribution that are centrally located, and I don't know what day we were out there on Adams and Silverbell, but there may have been another outage in another community further west, and so sometimes I try to centrally locate it between two communities. So that might have been my fault, and I will look at that going forward. With regard to what DTE is doing to be proactive, we are analyzing the circuits that come into the city, and our engineers are currently putting their plans together to do the upgrades that are necessary and therefore mitigate more future outages.
Any update, Jennifer, on the $25 credit being expanded to a larger amount and impacting more people than initially reported?
I don't have, as you said, it has to go through the commission, the MPSC. I don't know where that's at right now in the process, but I can find out for you.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Councilmember Harrison.
Jennifer, thank you for logging on tonight to be a part of this meeting. We appreciate that. You touched on this a little bit, but I understand that extreme weather patterns are the new normal. We're seeing it across the state, and we've seen outages across the state as well, not just in the Rochester community. And I'm concerned that power outages are going to be the new normal. What has DTE been doing to prepare for this change in weather patterns that we've seen coming for, the last 2 decades, really? And it's here now, and how are we addressing it?
We touched on that briefly. The CEO and the president of the electric company touched on that briefly in that summit, the Oakland County Summit. We did file a draft plan with the Michigan Public Service Commission for our long-term plans for the distribution of electricity. And in that plan, we did scenario planning. And one of the scenarios is, what shall we do? What will we do to combat in the face of increasing intensity in our weather? So that is included in that report. I can send the draft of the report to Blaine. And then we plan to finalize, to send in the final plan to the Michigan Public Service Commission, I believe at the end of this month, so I believe this week.
Could you just briefly summarize the report so our audience and ourselves have an idea?
I'm not very familiar with it, I apologize, but it is a plan in which we look long-term into the future, how we're going to improve our grid system to, again, deal with the intensity of the weather, meet the needs of electrification, as so many of us are going into electric cars, electric vehicles, and also to take on new sources of energy through reliable resources. Through renewable resources. So all of that information is in that report for the next 5 to 10 years for our distribution system. And I apologize, I didn't realize I was going to be talking on that today, so I don't have a summary for you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Peterson.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Jennifer, for attending tonight. First, I want to say thank you to all the workers that you've had on the ground working through these storms this whole time. I did see them in many backyards working to clear the lines and things like that that have been one of the biggest things mentioned by DTE of causing these outages. And I know many of them have worked many long hours to take care of the whole southeastern Michigan. I don't have as many concerns about the things that are happening with the storms and what is considered the not reliability of the electric. I do know that Rochester is set up on many different grids, and I think if from past issues, it was the grids that you were starting to renew and change. So I think in the future, if that's on the radar for them to do that, that would be great. I do thank you for even taking the time to be here, to know that our community is probably one of the least that was affected by these storms, based on being on the road with, for what I do, and talking to many people around the Tri-County area. So I look forward to seeing what your long-term plan is. I think that's great. I know Consumers has one as well. And see how we can make things not so daunting here in Rochester for so many. And I do think regarding that credit, I do know that it's based off of the usage amount of what we do in a day, or however that is worked out with even some of the other utility companies. So I appreciate you, DTE, for actually offering an incentive to those who have been suffered from that. And again, thank you, and look forward to updates. And I appreciate also that DTE went to the county to talk to all the county executives in the surrounding area, as well as the city managers, so we can all be on the same page. I think that was a very proactive move, and very much appreciated. Thank you.
Mayor Pro
Thank
Tem,
you.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer, and just thank you, council, for kind of echo your comments and support them. Jennifer, my question is along the lines of infrastructure. I know it's an open issue in terms of what type of infrastructure grants are going to be available. It is a big topic in our country in terms of federal grants, state grants, and certainly I hope that DTE is a part of that. Also, from a local infrastructure standpoint, I know that as being an infrastructure committee member, we are always looking to partner with DTE when we are doing a road, doing a complete street. If we can bury a line, if it works into your plan, to do that at the same time. So anything that DTE can do to provide transparency on what areas your engineers are analyzing and where you think you're going to be working, I think residents would like to see that. We know that from a water, sewer, road standpoint, residents like to see the map saying, here's when my road is going to be under construction. So anything that DTE can do would be very helpful in that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll take that back. With regard to infrastructure, we totally agree. Before I became the regional manager in Oakland County, I was the regional manager in Eastern Wayne County, we have a gas service in that area, and we're always looking for ways to partner with our communities to make sure that we are all sharing when we share the road at the same time, we can all do our work at the same time and leverage some of those opportunities to be in the road at the same time. So I will take that back to our engineers. Thank you.
Councilmember Sage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Jennifer, for speaking with us tonight. So when you're involved in your triage assessment of the events over the summer and evaluating the system, I'm hopeful that, to echo Mayor Pro Tem Salvia's point, transparency, and here's what I'm looking for specifically. Please help identify within each municipality, is it infrastructure issues or is it trees and the lines? Because I would like to offer the same assistance. How can a municipality help you get to your goal quicker? So let's not forget about that, because we are willing to do so, but unless it's identified, we don't know, and we'll,
Right.
all right, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate that very much. We do know that system-wide, trees are our biggest challenge when it comes to reliability. So when we determine where we will be doing the tree trimming in the city of Rochester, I'll get with Blaine, let them know, and Nick to let them know where we will be doing that, and then put together some communications for your residents.
But I think equally, we'd love to know, as you identify the system, and if you have identified parts of the system that are inadequate and need to be replaced, it would be nice to have a timeline on when that can be accomplished.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Thank you.
Will do.
Councilmember Albrecht?
Not really as much for Jennifer. I wanted to respond to some comments that Councilmember Peterson made, stating that we weren't as impacted as other areas. When you have Main Street shut down and businesses shut down for days, when you have truckloads of food that we had to replace the trucks day after day, our residents that I've spoken with were upset. 5 days without power, I think, is pretty egregious. So to say that we weren't impacted as much as others doesn't really give this issue the importance that I've heard from the residents that I've spoken with, the businesses I've spoken with, and not including the power outage yesterday. We had students that were unable to go to school last week at Rochester High School and a middle school because of another power outage unrelated to the one yesterday. So this is impacting students, it's impacting residents, it's impacting visitors to our downtown, it's impacting the businesses, and it's impacting our older senior citizens who are dependent upon that power for some of their medical devices and other things. So I want to make sure that, for the record, Leanne, that that's reflected based on what I've heard from the residents I've spoken with. Thank you.
Further questions? Councilmember Peterson?
Yes. Well, Councilmember Albrecht, I apologize that you took it to a different level than what I was referring to as I was going in my job, I'm in other areas. So I'm referring to what has taken place in other areas. We were not as hard hit as other areas. So,
All right, okay.
and that's fine, but it's not, this is not an attack thing to go back and forth. This is for DTE to hear everyone's comments. So you did state all those things to DTE, and this was very unprofessional and uncalled for to attack me personally about this here, because I was stating about other communities I have been in and what other people have said. So
It was not an
I would
attack, it was a
appreciate,
clarification.
no,
It was a clarification of facts.
it's not a clarification of facts. Those are opinions. This is not about that.
Councilmember Sage?
I guess I need clarification now. So your comments were not an opinion?
Excuse me, order, Mayor.
I called on Councilmember Sage. He is
Okay,
allowed to
but
speak.
I'm not going to sit here and be attacked
You're
tonight.
not being attacked.
Yes, I am. Then direct the comments to DTE, who you wanted here to talk to, not Ann Peterson.
Councilmember Sage?
I'm good. I think Councilmember Peterson just said it all right there.
Anything further?
Nope. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, I have a few comments. Shock, right? So, again, Jennifer, thank you for coming. I am a longtime critic of DTE. And Councilmember Albrecht talked about the last week, his clocks and stuff go out. Mine have been going out for years, and nothing gets done. We've had Adam Kokender for our county commissioner out here with your predecessor, I assume. Nothing gets done. So, you say you have a plan coming up. I hope you do, and again, I'm not criticizing you, but we've heard that before and nothing ever happens. So the clocks go out, the computers go out all the time on my street. I'm not living in up north, some little town. I'm living in a city, a suburb in Metro Detroit. I find that disconcerting. Okay? So that's the first thing. So this is not something new. Okay, we had that storm. Obviously, that was a terrible storm. We understand. But I will say, as Councilmember Albrecht said, we had stoplights in our downtown that were out for 3 or 4 days. That seems dangerous. That seems unacceptable. So I guess what's your comment on that?
I would have to look, I would have to talk to the engineers. I don't know. Can you tell me when that was? Which part of the summer?
I guess I'm pretty surprised that you're being so unprepared for this meeting, to be honest with you, but okay. That was during the big storm,
12th, 13th, I
12th,
believe.
13th, 14th. Okay, then another comment I had was the app and the thing you can get online that says when it's going to be turned on. So everybody in town, all my neighbors, it was whatever night it was, Thursday night at 11. Everybody's Thursday night at 11, Thursday night at 11. Thursday night at 11, it comes on and says Friday night at 11. So just the confidence in your reporting, is now at 0. So I don't know how you can do a better job of that, but everybody was planning on the power coming back on, and it didn't come on. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I apologize. So we do know that our communication system was not where we wanted it to be this summer. I will say that in a lot of cases, the estimates, when we were receiving estimates, the crews would go out there, determine an estimate, and then find more trouble. And so that they couldn't meet the initial estimate that they had initially fed back to the dispatchers. So we recognize that there is a problem there. There is a gap, and we're working on that right now to address those gaps in communication and getting the right estimates to our customers.
Thank you. And then the last thing I have is, I'd like to ask how you prioritize your things, because it sure looked to me like Rochester and Birmingham were the last ones on the list. And I know near me, they came out and it only took them an hour to fix it, because I was standing there among many neighbors. So how does that work? Because it seemed there was 2 areas that clearly were not getting done when everyone else was. It wasn't that it was that complicated, or so it seemed. So do you have any comment on how do you prioritize that?
Sure. We first look at all the hazards on the system, and we make sure we clear those. So any downed wires or any hazards to the public, we clear those first. Then we look at all the critical infrastructure and make sure those are on, and along with emergency systems like hospitals, police, and fire. And then we go and do the larger outages first to get back as many people restored as soon as possible. And then we go from there. So I'm not sure if in those instances that you talked about, Mayor, if those were smaller outages, and that's why it appeared that other folks were getting restored before you were.
Well, according to the thing, they were large ones, but they didn't get done. Okay, that's all I have. Any other questions? Thank you very much for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have approval of the minutes. Is a consideration of the minutes of the regular meeting of September 13th, 2021.
So moved with changes.
Motion by Councilmember Peterson. Is there a second? with the change? Oh,
What are the changes?
Okay, sorry, yeah, I'm sorry.
That's fine. 4B, when did you, Blaine, when did you attend that Zoom meeting with DTE? Because I thought you mentioned that you were going to be attending one and hadn't attended it yet.
Yep, I can look up my schedule. I believe it was Monday, the 20th. Monday, the 20th at 9 a.m.
Okay, so you had not already attended it, so 4B needs to be corrected because you had not attended it. What it should have been, you were
I will
going
be
to be
attending,
attending. Yeah. And then 11A, if you could please, Leanne, just under the grant committee, just add that it was Sue Neal and Mayor Dalden who are working on a combined grant.
All set, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything else?
No?
Is there a second?
Support.
Support by Councilmember Sage. Further discussion? Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is the approval of the consent agenda. First is consideration of a special event application from Extension Providence Rochester to hold the annual Breast Cancer Awareness Walk on October 13th, 2021. B is a review of the current special event calendar. C is appointment of election workers for November 2nd, 2021 election. And D is discussion of the 2021 Halloween hours, which are going to be the same as last year.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda without D.
Support.
Okay, so motion by Councilmember Peterson, support by Councilor Albrecht to support, extend the consent agenda A, B, and C. Further discussion? Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So, D, I just, I was a little confused because when Mayor Rob Ray was here, we officially made it to where we were going to keep our hours the same as the other surrounding communities. So can we make that, this is a final, so everyone knows, unless we were to change it, so it's not coming back every year? 'Cause-
That one had a sunset, so it would come back, but you guys definitely could do that.
But the one we had before also actually had the fact that it was what they were going to do because it was COVID. So it was totally different than the one prior that we had approved. So
Council?
that's fine. Motion to approve it then.
So should we make a motion to, I'll say, permanently set the City of Rochester's Halloween hours to 6 to 8 p.m. on October 31st, and
And
the
always-
whistle is blown?
Yep, and blow the whistle, because I think we don't need to keep bringing this up. We actually, it's something that all our residents can rely on then for planning.
So I made that motion. Is in the proper
Support.
form?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, so a motion
support.
by Mayor Pro Tem Salvia, support by Councilmember Peterson to set official hours for Halloween. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we do not have any old business or table items. We do not have a public hearing. We do not have a legislative deliberation tonight. Reports and regular business. Receive a report regarding the American Rescue Plan Act funds. Mr. City Manager.
Actually, Anthony is the one that's going to be talking. Both Anthony and I have been attending various webinars and conferences on this particular topic, and I don't want to steal Anthony's thunder, so he put together on page 21 a brief memo outlining where we're at right now. So,
Anthony, welcome tonight.
Oh, thank you, Council. I tried to summarize everything up in the memo, so if there's any questions or anything, I can happy to address wherever the concerns are.
Very good. Council? Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Thank you. Anthony, why don't you take us through at a high level where we're at with the American Rescue Plan dollars, just for the public?
Sure, absolutely. So the state received the money for the non-entitlement communities, which are communities that have less than 50,000 people. We received that, or the state received that back at the end of May. They had a chance to file extensions 30 days at a time and were granted at least 3 to get the administrative figured out how to administer those funds to get to everyone. Fast forward to just the oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me all right?
You're still good.
Yep,
You're
yep,
good.
Good.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm seeing it freeze on my side, so it might be my internet bandwidth here. I may have to kill the video. There we go. Sorry.
Sounds like my house.
Yeah, if it. Yeah. Got to yell at WOW now. I'm getting them next on it. So we have a. They finally got the administrative work figured out, and then gave us the notice that they're calling them tranches. So there's a first wave and a second wave. The first tranche was the one that we have just received that past week. It's not through the state. It is just a pass through. So there's no reporting to the state. There's nothing like that. The state basically had a couple boxes to check, verifying the communities, turn in their paperwork, we're accepting the funds, and then they were all clear. They were given the all okay, you're good to go. And then we received the first half. Then starts the timer for 12 months, and then we will have the second half. The funds are given not as a reimbursement. So like a lot of the other grants, you have to have the expenses, request reimbursement, and then receive the funds. This is the opposite. We receive the money. We have until the end of 2024, December 31st, 2024, to have an authorized plan for the funds. And they have to either be used or expensed or accounted for by the end of 2026. So when we receive the funds, there's still, the rules are still interim. They still don't have final rules on some of the nuances in the reporting. At a conference that I was at last week, we had a single auditor specialist. The state of Michigan Treasury had a rep there, and we had Plant Moran speaking. And right now, the least red tape in all of the things you can spend that you're authorized to spend and use the monies for is for revenue loss. So, you know, if we think back to this last year and the regular reports, the parking fund had the largest revenue hit at over $1 million to date. So there's still rules coming down the road, and all of the other items, broadband, infrastructure projects, all the other things that you can use these funds for are in other bills to have even more funds and things come down. So they were saying if you have projects, just be aware that there's even more projects that are coming. More money, I'm sorry, not projects. There's even more money coming. So hang on to your funds, and you may want to consider doing the revenue loss, which is just a reporting form. And then we would just transfer it to where we would need that revenue loss to fill. For example, the parking fund and general fund or major streets. So we could transfer it then wherever we want, and it has the least restrictions and red tape to it.
Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Okay,
first.
thank you, Anthony. So thank you for that overview and some of the details on the dates. You know, I was recently at the Michigan Municipal League conference, and, you know, like the conference you were at, this is the big topic. You know, $1.9 trillion at a federal level, trickle down, federal agencies, state level, county, local. There's a lot of money to be out there. So my big takeaway, and it sounds like you're involved in it, city manager's involved in it, is we need to leverage this money. You know, to me, in my day job, this is like someone receives an inheritance or a lotto winning. It's unexpected money. And so it should be invested versus just spent. And so we want to be very judicious about how this money is allocated. And I think because there is other money coming, we need to make sure that we're leveraging it. Federal agencies are going to have funds to distribute. There might be an infrastructure bill coming. So I'm happy with the timeline, and I think we just need to be very thoughtful and very patient as a city and as council about these funds. Thank you.
Councilmember Harrison?
Thank you. Thank you, Anthony, for the overview. I really appreciate it. I just wanted to mention that the budgeting committee, as well as the finance department, has been discussing the revenue loss that we experienced during the pandemic, and I felt strongly that right-sizing that fund for our parking decks is this money's going to help with that, if that is the direction that we decide to go as a budgeting committee and as a council.
Thank you. Councilmember Sage?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Anthony, for the update. You mentioned something in there about the second tranche timing. Wasn't in the memo, so you're saying that by September of 2022 would be the timing for that second payment?
That is what the guidance is saying. I was pushing back on the state a little bit because I believe the timer should start from when they, before they requested the first extension, which would put us in June. I'll continue requesting that and through the state rep channels, but right now the draft interim rules state that it's when you actually receive it, so that would put us at next September, this fall, in 2022, getting the funds.
Thank you.
Further comments, questions? I would just like to also thank you, Anthony, and agree with Mayor Pro Tem is that there's a lot of federal money out there. There's a lot of programs, and we need to be very nimble and very judicious with our planning and accumulation of this money to get the best bang for our buck, because I think it could be a once-in-a-lifetime thing for the city, or at least once in a 20-year thing. So how we do this is going to be very important to our future. So I think we're all agreed on that. Thank you, Anthony. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, on to receive reports from various boards and commission. Receive a report from the Pink Creek Trailway Commission. Councilmember Sage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The funding has been approved, final approval, and the signage designs are finalized. We are now in the production and installation phase of the wayfinding signage project that has been ongoing with the trail for over 5 years. So you will start to see signs out on the trail and at the major crossings, every road crossing. So it's exciting times.
What are they going to say? Where we are? Or?
Yes, there will be wayfinding to help direct you at certain intersections, as well as some gateway signs to welcome you to the trail, and also then to direct you to the other trails that connect. And there'll be some road crossing signs as well that we had to work with DOT to get approved.
Good, thank you. Next, a report from the Planning Commission. Councilmember Harrison, you had a comment?
I do have a question. Was anyone able to attend the ribbon cutting for the new bridge?
I was not able to attend it either.
Okay. I was just wondering if anyone did and how it went.
It was inside. It was
Yeah,
rained
rained out.
out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was going to be interesting how they got the people from the cider mill to the bridge and back. But the rain solved that problem.
Oh, well, that's disappointing that it got rained out.
Yeah.
It's such
Yeah.
a beautiful bridge and an asset to this community. It's nice to have a connector.
Report from the Planning Commission. Councilmember Sage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the first item was a consideration of the site plan to build an inspection, packing, and warehouse building at Par Pharmaceutical, which was ultimately approved. Second item was a consideration of the ordinance to section 2125 regarding fence standards. And I think if you remember, we actually addressed this here on council first because it ran into, there was an issue about a power safety cover on a pool. And it met some international standards that got around our ordinance. So we sent it back to Planning Commission. They have now reviewed it, and we'll basically have one non-conforming home. It'll need to go to a public hearing, and that's the next step, so that we can resolve that ordinance. Next item was a consideration of the ordinance to the light and illumination. Again, another topic we've discussed at length here multiple times. We referred it back to Planning Commission. So during that discussion, it was agreed that, commercial and multifamily properties that impact residential would need to be subject then to shielding and the elimination of bare bulbs, et cetera. We also revised the sunset provision. So initially, I think it was proposed here on this body to have a 1-year sunset. That was discussed at length, and a 6-month sunset provision is all that will be provided in the new ordinance. It too will have to go before a public hearing. Now, one thing I do want to mention, because it kind of came up in our discussion, but it did not directly. This ordinance does not impact residential to residential lighting issues.
Right.
So that's something that I would suggest we have continued discussion on here at this body. But for section 2306, that deals with commercial and multifamily properties and their impact on residential, that will now be going to a public hearing. And the final
Councilmember
consideration
Sage.
was a review of the
Yeah.
master plan draft.
We had a question on that, Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
So from a process standpoint, is it appropriate for Planning Commission to start the discussion on the residential to residential lighting, or does it start at council?
I
Or
think,
either?
yeah, I think we thought it would start at council.
I don't know if you want the attorney
Mr.
to.
City Attorney, do you have a comment on that?
Well, the discussion can start anywhere. So if there's direction, sometimes ordinances, sometimes city council directs planning commission to consider and particular changes. Sometimes, more often than not, I would say the zoning ordinances are initiated at planning commission, but that's just where the process of approval has to start, not process of discussion. So I know, with the exception of the 1-foot candle, that would apply residential. But if there was any input that city council wanted on direction, I think that planning commission would like to hear that. And I don't want to speak out of turn, Mr. Sage, but so the directive could be to address residential to residential before it comes back to this body. It could just be the next thing that planning commission is directed to address. It's that ordinance is where it would also be located. So if city council wants planning commission to consider residential to residential standards other than what's already in there before it comes to city council, that would be fine as well.
Councilmember Peterson.
Yeah, so my question is, so they addressed commercial and they addressed the multifamily, but what about that affect residents, but what about the DDA streetlights that affect residents? Was that brought up, any of our major streetlights that shine into their homes?
If I may.
Mr. City Attorney.
Generally, emergency lights and streetlights are exempted from those situations. Now, I do know in the past, when there's been a problematic light, for one, and I can remember one on Castell, that there was actually shielding that was placed on to a city light. So while those are exempted, the city has in the past considered and applied shielding to a particular light that may be offensive.
So the DDA lamps and posts that are in front of homes, those are considered those lights?
Streetlights.
Streetlights, okay. All right, I just know that there's a lot of them that do shine right into the residents' homes. So if there's a solution for them, that would be good.
Mr. Sage, Councilmember Sage.
Just to speak to the final consideration we had at the meeting was to review the master plan draft document. And it was the basis of the commission to say, we need some more time to actually review this 200-plus page document, and that time was granted, so we will be providing comments up until October 8th, at which time then we will review it again at the October 21st meeting, and based on that input from the commission, we will then forward it to council for consideration.
Okay. Any questions for Councilmember Sage? Thank you. Next on to receive report from the Historical Commission. Councilmember Sage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, so far, the big part of the discussion at the meeting was about the historical plaque program, and to date, we've sold 5 plaques, or engaged 5 citizens here in town to put in their application and qualify. So, part of that discussion was request of the city on some helpful opportunities to better showcase this program. We've had this plaque program for over 10 years, and it's very rewarding. So they were asking for coordination of the city newsletter and then possibly our communications team here working with the Rochester Post to put an article in at the same time that the fall-winter newsletter would drop. It was one. And then the second consideration was the accessions specialist there at the museum. She is almost completed with all the archiving of all the documents we've handed over from the commission. So there was thought that when she goes to post these items and information on the museum's website, that we would also then, in conjunction, have a link on the commission's website, city website page, have a link there so people can access it from our website as well.
Councilmember Albrecht.
Councilmember Sage, is that ahead of schedule?
Yes, it is.
Because I thought when we approved this, we were approving the first year and it might continue into a second year, so,
Correct.
so,
may be
can you
well
comment
ahead.
on that?
We just may be well ahead of schedule. She's done some great work, so.
I will add, we just dropped off a full truckload over there, so she might not have realized from her boss that she did just get the second shipment, so.
Excellent.
I will say that we probably are ahead of schedule. I think we wrote the document up to 3 years, but I do think we might be able to do it in 2 based on how quickly they are being able to process the stuff. So, again, they were happy to get the additional materials, but, yeah, just coordinated that last week.
Great, thank you.
Nice.
I think it's safe to say the Historical Commission is tearing it up. Right? Many different ways. Next is a report from the Downtown Development Authority.
Yes, I was not in attendance, I was working.
Okay, so I will do the report. We had a brief meeting, but a productive one. All the sidewalks downtown are all complete, so that was nice. So all the sidewalks are safe and I think looking very good. All of the events for the fall, Halloween, Lanyap, the Christmas parade, the trees, everything is on, everything's being planned. So we are really back, and we are going to be a Christmas destination again. And actually, they are going to be starting to put up the new lights and stuff, pretty soon. And we were lucky that with the supply shortages, we got our orders in for new lights very, very early. So we are not going to be affected by that. So we will have our lights up. So we are getting our lights. And then the last thing is we have the Dda Visioning Session on Wednesday, the 29th, from 6 to 9 o'clock. Everybody on the council is invited. We have an outside facilitator coming in, and we're going to talk about the future of the downtown, and I think everybody's pretty excited about that. So if you can make it, attend. Councilmember Albrecht.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo that. According to Christie last night, I'm on the committee that I'll be a moderator there. We had a little over 100 people signed up, so people are still welcome to sign up. Residents, non-residents, people who feel want to contribute to the vision of the downtown, please reach out to the DDA via Christie, and you could register and then show up on Wednesday night.
And I think at 6 o'clock, there may be food if anybody's interested. So Cruise and Mirror, I think, is going to be providing the food. Any questions on DDA meeting? Okay, next we see a report from the RARA Commission. Councilmember Albrecht.
Thank you, Mayor. We had our regularly scheduled meeting on September 15th. A couple things that we talked about. We did a review of the budget, and at the October meeting, we will have a update and amendment update. City Manager Wing, I've asked us to be put on the agenda, probably the second meeting in October, so we can give an update to City Council. Rochester Hills has a RARA board vacancy since August 16th. They were not able to fill it by the September meeting, but they're confident they will be able to fill it by the October meeting. And then we had Chelsea Aditz, who is the HR director for Rochester Hills, had completed our facilitation that the board had recommended for all the employees, and she presented preliminary feedback to us at this meeting, which we will talk about at the October meeting. That was all, Mayor.
Very good, thank you. Next, we see a report from the ZBA. Mr. City Manager?
Actually, Nick is the one who attends our ZBA, so Nick, if you want to.
I got you. Hi, everybody. We had one case for 310 Elm Street, which is between Harrison and 3rd Street. It's one of the little bungalows on the east side of Elm, and they came into, the new purchasers came in to look to do a couple things. They wanted to add a second story to the one-story building. That required a waiver of like a 2.5-inch setback waiver to take those walls straight up off the existing foundation on the home. So that was the first part of the variance. And then the next one was two parts where they wanted to put a carriage-style garage in the front, which is not allowed by our zoning ordinance, and then needed as a result of that, would need a front setback waiver of the required 25 feet. Property drops off severely in the rear. You can't get around the back to get a garage. Presently, they have a 2-car driveway in the front that's just in front of the home, which is also non-conforming. So after very robust meeting, we had a lot of the neighbors come out. It was well advertised and good dialogue with the neighbors. The ZBA granted the first waiver for the second story, but they postponed for more information, a little more research on the carriage-style garage. We showed them other ones in town that had got waivers due to not being able to put the garages in the back or on the side. So that's scheduled for about a month from now. They'll come back and we'll reschedule that and re-advertise with the neighbors. But it was a productive meeting. Worked out great. And then plug, we have 2 ZBA vacancies, and it's tough when we don't have a full board of 5 there. If there's no alternates, then a lot of times the petitioners can ask for a full board, which delays it a month. So I would hope that on the website, we're asking for people to, sign up for the ZBA. We might have a couple potential people that in contact with the mayor, see if we can fill those spots. It's very important. Board, there's the next 2 months, it looks like we have other waivers, so it'd be nice to get that staffed up. So that's it. Any questions?
Yes, Nick?
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia?
Nick, in thinking about the master plan refresh that we're doing and thinking about the ZBA, is there any sort of summary over the past 5 years of kind of the main issues that have come to the ZBA that, housing is a section in the master plan refresh? I'd like to know what are the major issues that ZBA has been reviewing as we're thinking about the master plan.
Yeah, it's a fair question, and it's on housing, like side-loaded garages. That's it. All the other ones have been signs lately, so we really haven't had issues with setbacks, or we never deal with lot coverage. They never even get there. So it's really just this front-loaded garages, but we've only had 2 of those requested there because of fault. So there's not much of a report, to be honest with you. It's been pretty light, which means our ordinance is doing its job. People, either I can sit them down and explain why they're creating their own hardship, and there's no chance in heck they're going to get approved. So it'd be a pretty short report. It would just be 2 properties that asked for side-loaded garages because they couldn't get them in the front. That's about it.
Okay.
Thank you, Nick.
Welcome.
Next, receive a report from the Principal Shopping District, Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor. we will have some requests coming to council very soon for the Kris Kringle Market. We decided that that'll be December 3rd and 4th this year. The beneficiaries are Raya and Ra. We'll also be receiving a request for caroling in the city on December 12th. We have murals up around town. I hope everyone's noticed. That's part of our magical mural tour. It's the second year in a row, and we have 18 murals up throughout the community. And the Bloomingdales were big contributors to that, so we're very grateful for their support. And we will be hosting Festival of Trees September 30th, and the cocktail the cocktail preview will be November 19th. I misspoke, not the 30th. We have a new promotion. We did it last year. It was very successful. It's coming out again. It's called The Taste of Fall, and that'll be running through October 18th. It's highlighting different, seasonal treats available throughout the community. As the farmers market comes to an end, we're discussing a winter market again. We felt it was very successful last year, and we're seeing engaging interest to do that again, possibly this year. And it was a pretty short meeting for the PSD.
Very good.
But
Thank
got
you.
a lot done.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Councilmember Albrecht.
Councilmember Harrison, was the meeting on July 13th, or was there a more recent one in the packet, the agendas from July 13th?
Oh, it was September 14th.
Okay, thank you. I thought you had a more recent one. Thank you.
Okay, next on to new business for referral and miscellaneous. Brian, are you still there? Are there any public comment?
I am not seeing any, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have a receipt of the check register and the city manager's update. Mr. City Manager.
Yep, thank you, Mayor. There are a few check register reports that were submitted through finance. We had the one ending on August 31st, the next one on September 20th, and then September 27th. For my updates, if I can just go into those, I do have a seal from AEW to join us. The first bullet point that I have listed on page 50 talks about our construction updates, and we're going to also pull Brian in to coordinate a map that a seal has gotten to me that I've made sure Brian's got, and hopefully, yep, here we go. So we do have information that's on our website for the various projects, and then I asked our engineer, Asil Putros, to come here and provide us even more updated information than I have, because she gets daily reports from our inspectors, or her inspectors actually, out on the site. So, Asil, if you want to walk us through the 3 current projects that are going on.
Asil, welcome.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
So as you know, we have 3 roads under construction currently: Oak Street, Mahaffey, and Wilcox. I will be going over each one of them. Oak Street is basically, we have all the underground installed. The pavement, we have an 8-inch thickness of HMA that's going to be installed. 6 inches of it's already installed. We only have 2 inches left of the HMA. We do have this week some concrete work, concrete curb and gutter, flat work, sidewalk, and driveways to be installed this week. This next week, they're going to be doing irrigation and restoration. And hopefully by mid-October, Oak Street will be completely done. Mahaffey, we have all the underground installed. They will be doing the concrete work next week. That includes curb and gutter, sidewalks, driveways. And then the following week, they'll be paving the road with HMA, also 8 inches thick. And hopefully will be done by end of October. And all this like weather permitting. Wilcox, am I going too fast?
No.
No, perfect.
Good. Wilcox, we're installing the underground water main and storm sewer. We should be done in a couple weeks with underground utilities. Then the concrete work will start, which is curb and gutter, sidewalks, driveways. Then after that, we have HMA and restoration, and that should be done by mid-November. These are all the roads within this year work. That's all I have.
Very good,
If
Council.
any questions?
Thank you for the report. Councilmember Albrecht.
Thank you very much for the report, Seal. Have we had any feedback, City Manager Wing, from the residents? Are they happy with the communication we did proactively and as the construction is going on?
Yeah, overall, we probably receive 1 or 2 emails a week from the various residents. So I'll just highlight that through our website, we have rochestermis.org/construction. That gets you to our main page. And then for the various projects that we have, so there's one on Oak, Mahaffey, and then on Wilcox, actually explaining. Previously, we had one regarding South Street and also our transmission, as those were ongoing earlier this year. Prior to starting each project, we hosted a Zoom meeting. Pre-COVID, we were actually doing meetings either at the community house, maybe the library, OPC, depending on where in the community the projects were going. But due to COVID, we've been doing these meetings with the residents via Zoom. We've typically had probably 5 to 6 residents, normally 2 or 3 that ask us to either follow up afterwards as they can't make it. And then from that point, weekly, we provide updates on Friday on that page, depending on which project it is. And then we also offer for residents to sign up for our email. So some choose to not just go to our website. They actually want to get that little blurb. We do coordinate various events. We've had, everything from baby showers to birthdays and somebody actually moving out of town and coordinating their big, large moving van. So we've been working with residents almost weekly on the various projects. I will say Deponio's done a great job with the assistance of our Public Works team and our engineers when we've had some of these heavy rains that we've been prepping. I actually was out last time as they've created kind of like little stone barriers so that the rain would actually, what was it? What are they officially called? Dams?
Concrete dam, yeah.
Concrete, okay.
Yep.
So that the water basically, as it's flowing down, Wilcox is a good example. So all the material doesn't wash off onto University. And so they've constructed those when we've had upcoming rain events that we've been aware of. They've also worked with the fabric that are over the storm drainage containers as well. So overall, I would say we've done pretty well. Tonight's, Member Peterson actually asked for a public update other than what we're doing through the website and through the email. So I was happy to provide council with an overall update. And again, we're working with the infrastructure committee too as we're going through the various projects.
Councilmember Albrecht.
Yeah, I just went on the construction website. It does reference Oak and Mahaffey. Is this a document that should go on there now? Because I know we made the decision a couple meetings ago to extend it to Wilcox. So is that going to be updated on the website?
Yeah, I think this is something that we just got created. So I'd be happy to add that. And now that we're starting on Wilcox in full, other than the meetings, we should have that information up there too.
And I was pleased to see on the website that the estimated completion dates were further in advance than what Seal told us. So that tells us that they've been working very hard and coordinating everything. So, knock on whatever this is here, that everything's done by mid-November before the snow hits. Thank you.
Yeah, we're staying on target, very, very pleased. And, again, Deponio was the contractor that we did with Ludlow, so they're familiar with our community, and Seal has a good working relationship. And, quite honestly, Chris calls me up. So I think, again, he's got my cell number as well if there's issues or other things. So pleased thus far, and we'll keep him on track. Mayor, other than that, I know at our last meeting, we missed Mayor Pro Tem's request regarding some of the renderings from the community house. So I don't know if you'd still like those to be shown. I worked with Brian to get those drawings up, or if at another time.
Yeah, well, you have them.
Yep.
Let's put them up.
Absolutely, let's
Yeah.
see them.
Yeah. Brian, if you want to pull up, I think there's 4 altogether. I know a few of them are fairly large images. They're 15, 16 meg, so it might take a moment just when it's getting through on the Zoom.
And there is a potential that you might see these on October 6th at the State of the City.
I was gonna
Just
say.
gonna say,
Right,
just
right.
saying.
Well, the other thing.
Those
if I
may be
could
a
add,
few more too, so.
They are up on the inside of the building of the community house. The entire wall, when you go in the lobby, is now full of beautiful, large photos of the outside as well as a rendering of the inside. I don't think we have that here. It's the first I've seen
Yeah,
it.
these are the outside ones.
Okay.
So, yeah, and I do know that they're working on a few of the interior ones that I know the mayor is hoping we'll have those displayed as part of the State of the City. So I think this is, there's various angles here, and I don't know, Brian, I guess you have the name in the file, so if you want to read what it says.
The white front edition here.
The file says community house, right?
Yep, community house.
Community house, yeah.
Yes, yeah. That's the
Next.
front from the one angle with the flag, and then I'm sure there's, a north, east, west, or front and back.
And that's the original chimney, right?
Yeah, you bring up a good question. The chimney is of particular sentiment, and so the stone from the chimney towards the top will be preserved and used in that stone wall circular area. But the top of the chimney will just have, it will be new stone, not the historic stone, but it'll keep the historic intent.
Right,
I think I said that right. It's very important.
absolutely, thank you.
Keep going, Brian, if you,
Yeah, sorry, I'm only seeing the one attachment here. Blaine, is it
Oh, they might have got,
underneath or?
yeah, so I sent them all individually, so you might have an email right before that one and an email right after that one.
Okay. I see.
there we go.
Again, they were so large that it bounced back initially because it was over 25 meg, and it,
Yeah.
so.
And again, I think the public is welcome to come into the community house and see them, up on the walls in the lobby there as well.
And that's the back. Right. With the deck and things.
And I think there was one more, Brian.
There you go.
There's the full back kind of looking. Again, we're not removing the trees. The trees were removed for visual. That's what the architect, every single time, makes sure to point out, so.
Looks beautiful.
So it's coming along. Met with Alan, the architects, and the construction crew. We should, we're looking forward to a spring construction, so we'll have more information. But I apologize, last time we missed having these available, so I did want to make sure that we acknowledged them at this point. And that's all I had, Mayor.
Councilmember Peterson, did you have a
I
question?
did, since you're on it. So in the manager's report, you mentioned that there was going to be a historic event at State of the City. So, or it was a historical event.
I don't know if,
history.
Mayor, if you want to,
Yeah, we're going to sign the agreement with the Community House Board before the State of the City. So I think it's 6:30.
I believe 6 o'clock, actually, just so,
6 o'clock,
yeah,
yeah.
yep.
6 o'clock.
Okay, I just wonder what the historic event was.
Yep, this would be the first time that we actually sign a 20-year agreement with the community house, so that's the historic component.
Oh, I thought it was because we took $1.4 million during a pandemic to do it.
So
Okay, thanks.
it's less than 1.4, but, so right now we're anticipating the project to be just over $1 million. I think it was $1.040 million, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
Is that it, Mr. City Manager?
That's all I had.
Madam
Yes.
Clerk?
Yes, Your Honor, just an election update. Tomorrow, 1,300 absentee ballots will go out in the mail, so residents should start watching for those to hit the mailboxes this week. That's all I
Good,
have.
I've heard there is an election coming up, so thank you. Mr. City Attorney?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Assistant City Manager, Nick, anything?
All set, thank you, sir.
Okay, Councilmember Albrecht?
Nothing, Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia?
Just one or two comments. Additionally, from the Michigan Municipal League, obviously the American Rescue Plan and those dollars were a huge topic, but also attended a really good session on master plan updates. And then for our neighbors in Rochester Hills, they won Project of the Year for the Auburn Road corridor. So congrats to our neighbors. That was pretty exciting. They did a nice job.
Very good. Councilmember Sage?
Nothing this evening, sir.
Councilmember Harrison?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to thank the administration and our public for giving us the opportunity to attend the Michigan Municipal League Conference. I found it really valuable. It was the breadth of opportunities there was really good. I ended up doing a community wealth building session. We had a discussion on how you can make your community more environmental. And we talked about cybersecurity, a lot of placemaking workshops, so I found that really valuable. I also enjoyed talking with other communities to hear about what they're doing in their cities and sharing what we're doing in ours. And it just made me feel really proud that we're living in Rochester because of the things that we're doing. It's fun to share with others, so I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Good, and we appreciate you two taking your personal time to go do that, too. So
And
thank you.
congratulations to Rochester Hills. That was fun to see them win.
Councilmember Peterson?
Nothing this evening, Mayor, thank you.
Okay, so the only thing I have is the state of the city is going to be August 6th. October 6th, thank you.
Feels like August tonight,
Yeah,
right?
it's been postponed a few times because of COVID, so hopefully that's, the doors are going to open to the public at 6:30. And we're going to start promptly at 7. There'll be some snacks and things, goodies afterwards. We are going to have the signing at 6 if you can make it. That would be great. And looking forward to talking about the positive things of Rochester, which of course we have so many, and coming out of the COVID. So it should be a good night for the city. So I look forward to seeing everybody there. And that's all I have. Anything further? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.